Good morning, children. We have already completed Unit 3, and today we shall be discussing all the assignments of Unit 3. You all know very well your exams are approaching, and you need to keep yourself prepared for every small thing. Unit 3 includes two stories about flying, which has two individual further stories in it. First flight, then black aeroplane, and then you have a poem, that is the ball poem. I'm sharing the screen with you. You can take screenshots and we will do our work together. Okay, let's begin with question number 1. This question number 1 is from the first chapter, First Flight. Okay, why was the young seagull afraid to fly? Do you think all birds are afraid to make their first flight? Or are some birds more timid than others? Do you think the human baby also finds it a challenge to take its first step? The seagull was afraid to fly because it was his first flight and he feared of falling and hurting himself. He thought that his wings would not support him while flying. Yes, it is natural that doing something for the first time is a bit challenging and fearful. All birds must be afraid to make their first flight. Similarly, a human baby is also afraid of taking the first step and finds it challenging when he learns to crawl or stand up without support. Only after repeated trials and some falls, the child learns to take his first step. The next question. The sight of the food maddened him. What does this suggest? What compelled the young seagull to finally fly? The young seagull was very hungry and yearned for food. It was this hunger that ultimately compelled it to fly. Its hunger intensified when it saw its mother tearing at a piece of fish that lay at her feet. He got maddened at that tempting sight. It cried to her, begging her to get some food. When its mother came towards it with food in her beak, it screamed with joy and anticipation. However, she stopped midway. It wondered why she did not come nearer. Not being able to resist or control its hunger any longer, it dived at food in its mother's beak. At that moment, his hunger overpowered his fear of the great expanse of sea beneath the cliff. Finally, this plunge was followed by the natural reaction of its body, and that natural reaction was that the young seagull started flapping its wings, soar high, and then finally learned to fly. Okay, now the next question. They were beckoning to him, calling shrilly. Why did the seagull's father and mother threaten him and cajole him to fly? Seagull's parents had tried everything, but he was reluctant to fly due to the fear of falling down. He looked at his brothers and sister, but still would not make any efforts. They taunting him for his cowardice and even threatened that they would leave him starving at the ledge unless he tried to fly on its own. That is why the whole family had left him alone and cajoled him to come, but every effort went in vain. Okay, here the word cajole means when you are persuading someone, trying to force someone to do something. Okay, the next story, the black aeroplane. Sahaj, Kushagra, keep your videos on beta. Black aeroplane. I'll take the risk. What is the risk? Why does the narrator take it? The narrator was flying his old Dakota aeroplane. Suddenly he found dark clouds. A huge storm was brewing up, and the author was keen to reach his home to spend his holiday with his family. So he decided to fly through the storm as he did not want to miss the chance to meet his family at the breakfast. Thus he took the risk even when the visibility was almost zero in the storm. Then the next, describe the narrator's experience as he flew the aeroplane into the storm. As the pilot entered the storm, his plane started jumping and twisting. He could not see anything outside the plane as it was black. When he looked at the compass and other instruments, they had stopped to function due to storm. It was a terrible and fearsome experience for him. The fuel tank was almost empty and he could not fly more than 10 minutes. Then he saw another black aeroplane by his side and the pilot of the plane signaled him to follow. It was a surprise for the narrator as the other black plane was having no light. He followed him without any choice and landed safely on the runway. Question number 3 now. Why does the narrator say I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota? When the narrator landed safely, he wanted to express his gratitude to the pilot of the black airplane. He had, after all, rescued him out of that fierce storm and had saved his life. The control room was at some distance and he had to go there walking in order to inquire about that pilot. But keeping in mind the importance of that pilot in his life, he did not feel sorry to walk away from the old Dakota. Then, what made the woman in the control center look at the narrator strangely? The woman in the control center looked at the narrator strangely because the narrator asked him about the black aeroplane and she saw no one except the narrators in the sky during the storm. Even the radar showed only the narrator's plane that night in the sky. So she was feeling very unusual that what is he exactly asking for. Then next is question number 5. Who do you think helped the narrator to reach safely? Discuss this among yourselves and give reasons for your answer. Children, for this particular answer, you can express yourself through your own perspective. If you feel someone was there, give reasons. If you feel no one was there, he was hallucinating, then it's your opinion. Okay, so there are some answers wherein you can express yourselves your own way, but then give appropriate reasons for that. Fine. So here it is very difficult to say about the unknown pilot who helped the narrator, but probably it was the narrator himself and it was his willpower, his own willpower that helped him to overcome the fear in the storm, as no other plane was visible in the radar except the narrator's Dakota plane. In that fearsome situation, he might have been hallucinating. He himself was a good pilot and brave enough to help himself and land safely. Okay, this I have written the answer from the perspective that nobody was there. But if you feel that yes, there was some supernatural power helping him, or God who helped him, then give appropriate reasons according to it. Fine? So, both ways it could be answered. Now, the next is the ball poem. I hope you remember the ball poem, wherein that little boy had lost his ball and how through the ball he had learnt the responsibility that losing and buying and profit and loss are a part of life. Okay, and after losing the ball, he realizes or he learns a lesson a lesson of epistemology. Okay, this poem was there in your test, even periodic test even. Okay, why does the poet say, I would not intrude on him? Why doesn't he offer him money to buy another ball? The poet says, I would not intrude on him because he does not want to intervene in the natural process of learning. He wants the boy to learn the meaning of loss on his own. He also doesn't offer him money to buy another ball because that would be worthless. He wants the boy to learn the lesson of responsibility, which would further help him in bearing with the loss, the first loss of his life. Okay, then staring down all his young days into the harbor where his ball went. Do you think the boy has had the ball for a long time? Is it linked to the memories of days when he played with it? Okay. Yes, the boy has had the ball for a long time. When it bounced into the water, all his memories of the days of childhood flashed in front of him. His childhood too had been lost in the harbor of life. This led to a realization that those moments would not come back just like the ball. He can buy new balls and can similarly create new moments, but those that are gone would not return. And this is life. Okay? Then, question number 3. Christina, sit properly, beta. Class is going on for you. What does in the world of possessions mean? In the world of possessions refers to the physical world which is full of materialistic things. Buying, owning, possessing, and even grabbing material things have become the only aim of the people today. Here everything and every action is made to amass wealth. Amass means accumulate. Whether it is the possession of land, property, money, comfort or luxury or any other thing. The poet suggests that losing a ball, which is a very small thing, would make the boy understand what it is like to lose something that one possessed or loved. But no wealth can compensate the internal agony or the emotional loss that a person suffers from within. Okay? Then, the next question, number 4. Do you think the boy has lost anything earlier? Pick out the words that suggest the answer. For this answer, there are both the views. Whichever you feel appropriate as per your viewpoint, you can answer accordingly. Okay, because the lines are given that ways. So do you think the boy has lost anything earlier? No, it seems that the boy has not lost anything earlier. The words that suggest so are, he senses his first responsibility in a world of possessions. When he loses the ball, senses his first responsibility. It means he is losing something for the first time. Later, yes, before the loss of the ball, the boy has lost one thing and its loss can never be compensated. It is the loss of his childhood that will never come back again. The line, staring down all his young days into the harbor, reveal the sense of his loss. So probably that childhood which is lost makes him feel so. Okay, so both ways, whichever you feel comfortable or appropriate with. Question number 5. What does the poet say? The boy is learning from the loss of the ball. Try to explain this in your own words. Like every sensible grown-up person, this boy too is also learning to know the nature of loss and the ways to cope up with such losses in life. He is experiencing grief and learning to grow up in this world of possessions. He learns that there are so many things in life that are lost and cannot be brought back. He is sensing his first responsibility as he has lost the ball. The boy will learn how to stand up, leave the losses behind, and move ahead as he would have understood the true meaning and nature of loss by encountering this first loss of his life. Okay? See children, whatever answers we are discussing, that doesn't mean that you have to learn these answers and you have to write the same answers. It means you need to understand that what are the value points, what is there in the content of the answer. And accordingly you would write. You can obviously express yourself in your own language also. But the value points should be there in the answer, your expressions, your content, your accuracy, your precision, your grammar, everything should be right. You don't have to learn these answers, you have to understand these answers. Next, question number 6 and 7. What is the message conveyed in the poem? In the Ball poem, John Berryman gives us a very positive and an important message of loss and responsibility in life. Gain and loss, getting and losing are the essentials in the cycle of life. One should learn the nature of loss along with coping up with those losses responsibly. Our childhood, along with its sweet memories, has gone forever, never to come back again. Many things will get lost time to time, and money simply cannot replace all those losses. So let us learn living and moving ahead in life, forgetting all the inconsolable losses. There are some losses which, howsoever anyone may try to console us, it cannot be done. But still, we need to move on. We need to move ahead in life. Okay? Then, money is external. This is a very important question in this poem. What does the poet mean when he says this expression that money is external? The poet here tries to make the readers understand about learning the first responsibility or the nature of the loss. As such, losses are always immaterial. Not every loss can be replaced by money. Money is external. Money has its limitations. It cannot compensate the losses that a person undergoes emotionally or internally. It's not that you slap someone and you say, take this 10 rupees and it's done. You slap another and you say, you take this 100 rupee, I just wanted to slap you. Would he agree with your 100 rupees or the 10 rupees? You understand? You go to a big hospital and you say that the condition of my so-and-so is not good, and you take thousands, you take lakhs, but you have to save it. So there are certain things which money cannot buy. Money has its limitations. For example, the loss of one's childhood days or the loss of one's memories. Money can never replace the things or the persons whom we love, the things that really matter to each individual. Understood? How is money external? Okay, so I hope all of you have taken the screenshots of every answer. So now tomorrow we shall be doing unit number 4 and a grammar topic as well.